What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus. We are sorry for being a couple minutes late today, but we got Andy Strickland joining the show here shortly. It won't be too long of a show this morning. We're actually going to take a lot of questions from the chat. If you guys have anything you want us to talk about, with last night being somewhat of a lighter slate, we'll have Andy on to talk about teams out in the Midwest, the St. Louis Blues, maybe the Minnesota Wild, who are quietly the hottest team in the NHL in the month of November so far. But Colby, what?
I do like the idea of getting into the Blues a little bit today because it is such a passionate fan base, and it sort of makes you wonder with what happened last year for them once they made the coaching change, like, was that real? You know what I mean? And remember how close they were to getting through Winnipeg in the first round. And now you look at the St. Louis Blues and, you watch them play that game the other night, and it's a struggle, right? It is a real problem. And I guess my curiosity, which we'll sort of lean into, is for Doug Armstrong, who's also the general manager of Team Canada, probably his last go at that. We know he's moving to president of hockey ops, and he's sort of passing the torch here at some point, I think, between this and next season. So is his eye really on the ball for the St. Louis Blues? I'm sure it is, but Andy Strickland is so close to that team, and he's so well connected to that team. I mean, he's had all the big players on his show, on the Cam and Strick pod, on his radio show. So we'll definitely bend his ear about that, and I think we also got to ask him about the Tkachuk podcast, because I know those guys, they're from that St. Louis area. And, you and I were talking a little bit about this morning. Those guys need somebody to probably sit in that show with them for a little bit and kind of gas them up. I mean, the Kelsey brothers, football players, are just different. They kind of don't give a shit what they say. And
I don't watch that show though. I don't.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, does the Kelsey brothers show get the hype it has without Taylor Swift being involved?
I mean, yeah, it was one of the biggest shows in podcast pre-Taylor Swift. It already was. It was. I mean, it wasn't the biggest like it is now, but it was one of the top, I bet you, 5 or 10. And listen, those guys are great personalities. They need somebody to gas them up a little bit, somebody to stir the pot with them a little bit, someone to kind of lead them, into some different directions. And I think that would probably be super helpful. I thought Rocket was creeping around down in my office. I just heard some little click clacks on the feed, but it wasn't.
All right. Well, Colby, Andy is here, so let's bring him on. But before we do, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Perasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Perasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Perasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Andy, obviously we're talking about the Tkachuk Brothers show. Have you had a chance to watch it yet? Not what we planned on talking about this morning, but
I've seen all the clips. Hey, can I ask you guys though? Sorry, I'm in my hotel. Last night my computer wouldn't work, so why am I not? Am I not in the camera? Am I in the camera? Or
well,
am I not in the camera?
You're moving back and forth now.
Now you are.
You're
perfect now.
I accidentally hit clear history, so I can't remember any passwords. Okay, so I'm trying to get my email address. I know what you guys were thinking when I said hit clear history. I mean, nothing crazy, nothing.
And you're in a hotel. What's going on here?
I share my laptop with my family. Actually, my daughter's all mad. All my kids are mad because they all have their school laptops, but restricted. They can only do certain things on there. But I bring this with me so I can watch my kids' hockey practices. I'm like a freak. Last night, they're down, where are you? I'm watching my kids practice. You're such a loser. I'm I know. But I want to see what they're doing, But anyway, thankfully, I was able to figure it out on my 10th try of what my password is. I can't remember when's the last time I changed my password on my email. So here I am. But listen, the Tkachuk podcast, I haven't watched a whole episode. I don't watch a whole episode of a lot of podcasts. I mean, you guys put a lot of clips out, so I love seeing all the clips, and a lot of people put clips out. Spitting Chickens, everyone has clips. That's why I always tell our producer with the Chemistry podcast, it's listen, clips. You can never have enough. because that's what people see. I don't know
true.
how many people are really going to watch a podcast start to finish, especially ours. Like, it's so long. Like, Cam and I just start talking. Like, we just go on and on and on, and all of a sudden it's like 3 hours later, and like we're still talking. We're like, all right, we got to wrap this up. But Matthew Tkachuk, listen, he views himself, and probably to a lesser extent Brady, but I'm going to speak on Matthew. I just think he views himself as an entertainer who plays hockey. Like, I think he's got that mindset that we see from a lot of athletes in a lot of different sports. I mean, you see all these NBA players, and I mean, they've got podcasts like during the season. Like Draymond Green, like, has like a podcast going on during the season. I thought that was a little weird when you first heard about it, but then it's like more and more NBA guys have it, football guys have it. Matthew's gone out to that golf tournament the last couple of years in Tahoe, and he's gotten to know Travis Kelce, and they see the Kelce brothers. I know people who are close with the Tkachuks as well who have said to them, hey, listen, you guys should start a podcast like the Kelce brothers. So I know that's been kind of cemented into their minds, over the last few years, and now they finally went ahead and decided to do it. I just hope for their sake that they continue to play at a high level and they continue to win, and I don't think there's any reason why they wouldn't. But you'd hate to see like USA Hockey really have, shit the bed, for lack of a better word, at the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And all of a sudden these guys are doing a podcast and they finish fifth. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But listen, I don't know if they want to do it. And like, what's your guys' take on it? I haven't really watched an episode, but I've seen some of the clips.
I don't think it's been good so far, but I love that they're doing it. And what I was saying to Johnny was I felt like they just needed a middleman for a little bit, just to sort of, lead them and direct them. I think with the Kelce brothers, remember, like, Jason doesn't play anymore, so it's a little bit easier for him to kind of, let his hair down. And Travis Kelce's probably bigger than the entire NFL, which is a crazy thing to say, because the NFL is literally the greatest show there is. I mean, you look at ratings for an NFL football game, it is just the most watched spectacle, not just the Super Bowl, literally every Sunday. So I think it's great. And I love that these two guys are willing to be the first ones over the fence and take the shrapnel and probably eat the carnage that comes their way, because guys are going to be waiting for them to say something, to be all over them about it during games. So I give them a lot of credit for wanting to do it. And having met those guys, I don't know them super well. I met Brady and know Brady maybe slightly more just from his days in school. And I've spent a lot of time around Big Walt at the Frozen Fours every year. That's really where I've got a chance to sit and drink beers with him so many Frozen Fours in a row. And you just know, like, I've met Chantel, like, the personalities of the family is so good. Maybe they need their dad to sit there on the podcast and have it be the three of them, just because he could sort of gas those two up, and he knows how to get those two boys going like I've never seen. Like, I've seen him say, hey guys, watch this. And he'll show us his phone. He'll write them a text message and he'll go, I guarantee you Brady responds like this and Matthew responds like this. And he's just ribbing them, Strick. And the responses come back are exactly what he said. And they are hysterical the way that he gets those two going. Like, I've had a chance to witness it.
Yeah. No, for sure. And listen, I'm sure guys are going to chirp him on the ice, but they don't care. I mean, listen, they've got the best chirp game probably going in the league. I mean, Matthew's as good as it gets when it comes to that. And Brady's probably not far behind. And I think they can take that. I think they understand that. And, the comparison is there, I think, with the Kelce brothers, just because they're brothers and they're playing, they're professional athletes. But you're right. Like, the NFL is such a different animal. The celebrity status of the Kelce brothers is at such a completely different level. I mean, even Jason Kelce, I mean, he's everywhere. It was almost too much. I'm here in your town right now in Philly, Colby. So it's like, he was so big in Philly, obviously, with the Eagles and everything. But then I just felt like you couldn't turn on a football game without him, like, putting on some type of skit and wearing some type of crazy costume. It was almost too much. And then with the whole Taylor Swift thing, I mean, you've got another brother who's dating, arguably the most famous person in the world, and Taylor Swift. So you can't compare the two. in reality. I mean, just the Kelsey brothers are at such a different level, especially with the NFL, and these guys are playing in Super Bowls and stuff like that. But we'll see. I mean, listen, a lot of people just say, like, hey, this is great for the game. It's great for hockey. I mean, it's easy to say that, and I want to agree, and I believe that's the case as well. And we'll just see how it goes. I think if there were two people who could pull it off and get it done and truly be comfortable doing it, it would be these guys. I'm curious if we're going to see other guys follow. And I've asked a couple of people who I know who are really tight with the Tkachuk brothers, hey, are you going to go on there? And they're kind of like, I don't know, man. I suck at podcasts. And, you know, especially some guys that are here right now in St. Louis playing for the Blues that I know that are tight with them. And, you know, the team isn't doing great. So it's like, you know, how much fun are you allowed to have? Can you have fun? Can you kind of, you know, be loose when the team that you're playing on isn't having a lot of success and you're not having a lot of personal success either? So I don't know. I'll be interested to see how it goes. Plus, they're both hurt right now, so they've got a lot of time on their hands. But I think Matthew told me they're only going to do like 1 or 2 a month, maybe that. And I'm sure they're getting paid some money. So, you know, good for them.
Yeah, let's switch gears, though. I actually want to ask you about a different topic in entertainment. I don't know if you caught it yesterday, but Bill Simmons, very popular voice in sports, not much of a hockey guy. He said that the Columbus Blue Jackets are the most irrelevant franchise in professional sports. And again, like, this is a guy who doesn't watch a lot of hockey, doesn't have a lot of hockey around him. And I wasn't sure if we were going to like even ask you this, but while we're talking about entertainment, it feels like necessary to ask you. Do you think that's fair from like a hockey outsider to say that? Like, when you kind of think about it, you know, they've won a first round once in their 25-year existence. Like, there isn't a ton of like historic success there, right? Like, I get where he's coming from. I mean, I was trying to think of another NHL team if like an outsider's talking about the most irrelevant NHL team, like, and I don't want to insult Columbus Blue Jackets fans because like we know how great the city of Columbus is and how great it can be there.
It is a great fan base.
But I'd be naive if I didn't say I get where Bill Simmons is coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, I think I read something that he was asked a question about. I think he was throwing this topic out, most irrelevant sports franchises. And I think actually somebody from Columbus threw out the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's kind of how this thing got started.
That's how it played out.
So, so I don't know if he just like came out and said Columbus is the most irrelevant franchise. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and listen, you're right, guys. They have great fans. I mean, they love the Blue Jackets, and I feel like the Blue Jackets are a little bit different today than maybe the teams that we, you know, were accustomed to seeing over the years. People who play there, they enjoy playing there. They enjoy living there. But I can see why he would say that. I mean, of course, he's a hockey outsider. Like, it would take a hockey outsider to say that. You know, if the Kansas City Royals hadn't had so much success recently, I mean, a baseball team like Kansas City could certainly fall in that category. I don't know how many people are really following the Kansas City Royals, you know, throughout the professional sports landscape. You know, you couldn't pick a football team. You probably couldn't pick an NBA team just because of, you know, their, you know, visibility that they get. But I mean, who's the least popular hockey team in the NHL? I mean, I would probably say it is Columbus. And you would probably have to pick a hockey team. I mean, we got to be real sometimes. As much as we love the game and we follow it, I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of a lot of other people who, you know, cover sports on a national level or who have worked for ESPN and worked in national television and, you know, national media people. Like, they're just not following hockey. I mean, hockey is such a niche sport that it's, you know, we're very protective over the game, but at the same time, I don't know, I kind of thought it was funny. And if you really sit back and think about it, I mean, I don't know, he could be right about it.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
You can separate the fact that they have great fans and great people and you know, like even Cam Atkinson retired. What did he do? He moved right back to his house in Columbus. He's going to raise his family outside of Columbus, and he's not the first guy that I've heard you know, doing that type of thing. So
Dubinsky.
They love it. Apparently there's great golf there. Like, I mean, listen, and being in Columbus, like I said a few weeks ago, the fans get crazy and they've got this stupid cannon which scared the shit. I mean, I had never been to a game there like in a long time. I went to like some USA Canada World Cup games there back in 2004. I was actually there for 10 days during a USA training camp. I mean, that was hilarious. I mean, you've got like Chris Chelios and like Brett Hall and all these guys there. They literally took off during training camp one night on a private plane to go see Kid Rock in Detroit, and they came back the next morning. I mean, their give a shit level of the World Cup in 2004, knowing they were about to have a lockout, was almost zero for that particular group. But anyway, but sorry with Columbus, man. They shouldn't treat Columbus like that. Great fans, great fan base, and great organization. JD loved it too. So
Strick, since you brought up the World Cup, that kind of takes me thinking a little bit about international hockey, which I think is one of the hot button topics right now. And before you came on the show, you've been in Columbus Columbus on the mind. You've been in St. Louis forever. I mean, I can't remember a St. Louis Blues organization that you didn't cover. So I guess when they got on my radar, you were there. So you either started really young or you're older than you look. I'm not sure. So it's a little dig and a little compliment all wrapped in one. But let me ask you a couple of questions that I think are pretty close to the St. Louis Blues that I think really do impact the Olympics this year. And, the two names that come to mind, obviously, Jordan Binnington and Doug Armstrong. And I know those are two people that, again, you're around all the time. And I'm curious, when you're the GM of a team that is floundering and looking to make moves, I don't think that's a secret. You've got a team that brought in a new coach last year and probably exceeded expectations, right? They got that new coach bump. They're seconds away from the second round last year in the playoffs, and now this, right? We both watched them play against a very, very beat up Toronto Maple Leafs team the other night, and they did have pushback. They did get a point, but how do you balance that? And in your conversations with Armstrong, how does he have two hats on right now? One, it's probably his last kick at the can of being GM of Canada, I would think. I think the next one, they maybe not. Correct me if I'm wrong on that when you do talk about it a little bit. But isn't it kind of difficult for him right now with a bad team, and then all of a sudden you've got the Canadian Olympic team? I don't know. Where's the rub between the two?
Well, I'm sure it's got to be absolutely killing him. What's interesting, guys, is when, the organization had this plan to the succession plan for Alexander Steen to take over after this season as general manager, and then Doug Armstrong would just become the president, which he's the president now, but he's been president and GM. So he would just be the president, Alexander Steen working under him. He originally told ownership, hey, this year in 25-26, we're going to be bad. We're not going to be good in 25-26. So that'll be another year as we continue to transition. But this was before they got Broberg and Holloway in the offer sheets, and that's what's changed everything for this organization. They bring those two guys in. All of a sudden, they're competitive. They make they fire Drew Bannister. They bring in Jim Montgomery, and they start winning games. And they decide, okay, let's make the trade for Cam Fowler. Well, now you bring Cam Fowler in, and the team just completely takes off. They, have a great Winter Classic in Chicago, and they just never really looked back. I mean, they were the best team in the NHL after the Four Nations. Jordan Binnington was such a storyline at the Four Nations. Came back. He was incredible for the Blues, really put the team on his back. Robert Thomas led the NHL in scoring, guys, the final 25 games of the season. I mean, that's a decent chunk to lead the NHL in the season. That's a third of the year, basically. And, so now the entire mindset completely changed. And Robert Thomas was on the radar for Hockey Canada, and now he's fallen off. And, the team just hasn't been able to get on solid footing. It's been a real strange season. I don't think anybody saw this coming. It's almost a level of shock that exists for this organization right now. I mean, they're just kind of like, oh my God, how did this happen? But at the same time, they look at it and they say, hey, we're almost to the day of when Jim Montgomery showed up last season. And maybe there is still some runway left to try to put together some wins and get back into this. How many great teams are there in the NHL? I mean, truly, you look at it right now, are there really any teams that are running away with it? You got a lot of teams that you didn't expect to be good who have had, really strong seasons up to this point. Are these teams going to fall off? Are they going to be able to continue and sustain the pace that they're on? So, is there an opportunity to get back into it? And of course, the trade rumors are now, creeping back in, which we see, every year with this team. So I think they're honestly shell-shocked when you think about the St. Louis Blues. I just don't think anybody saw this coming. They don't know how to get out of it. They've got all their top players offensively who are underperforming. A guy like Pavel Buchnevich, I mean, he hasn't had like an even strength point, I don't think, or even strength goal, one of the two. And, I don't know how long. You got to look up the stat. It's crazy. And he's got no confidence. I mean, they're playing different guys with different players every single night, so that chemistry just really isn't there. And they're just struggling, man. There's no other way to look at it. They're the worst in the league in terms of goals against. You got to have great goaltending. And the goaltending hasn't been good enough up to this point, even though there's been some bad bounces and some fluky plays. But when things aren't going your way, you're going to have some bad puck luck, and it's going to look a little strange sometimes. But they just haven't been able to recover. And the other night was a perfect example in Toronto. I mean, that Toronto team was there for the taking. They're missing Austin Matthews. They got other guys out of the lineup. Tana's not playing. I mean, I didn't even know Nylander was playing in the game until overtime. I mean, although he did score 2 goals in the game, the first one he actually scored in his own goal. And then that's one of the nicer goals I've seen this season in overtime. Just incredible what he was able to do. But the whole breakdown defensively for the Blues on that play was just kind of a microcosm of what we've seen from this team this year.
The Buchnevich thing is interesting, too, that you mentioned, Andy, because he just signed that 6-year deal, right? This is year 1 of a 6-year, $8 million contract, and he's 30 years old. Like, I think a lot of people were, I don't want to say iffy on him. I know he was a big trade target last year. And, obviously we hear his name a lot out here in New York because he had so much success in his time with the Rangers. But again, like you look at those top guys that are locked in long-term, they're a little bit younger in Thomas and Kyrou, but the core of this team, it feels like it's unraveling, right? Like I think all guys have been talked about as far as being trade targets. So what does that do to a locker room, right? Like, I remember 2 years ago, wasn't Kyrou like crying to the media that he was talked about being traded or something? Like, how does that not play a factor in, how they feel long-term?
Do you guys remember who Roy Firestone was, or Sally Jesse Raphael, like the old talk show host that would make everybody cry, back in the day?
No, I don't know. Who that? No.
I mean, come on. Colby, you remember?
I've heard the name.
Roy
like,
Firestone used to do this.
I'm familiar with them, yes.
Well, I think of Roy Firestone because Hunter Skinner, who's a young defenseman for the Blues, he played his first NHL game the other day, and I interviewed his dad during the game on TV, and he just started completely hysterical.
I saw that. Yeah, that was great.
It was such a raw, emotional moment. It was great, and he called me Roy Firestone during the interview. But it was during my interview with Jordan Kyrou when he started crying a few years ago. And the next game he comes out and he has a hat trick, and the team the city gave him a standing ovation at the game. But that was because they were booing him every time he touched the puck the game before that because he kind of called out Chief after Chief got fired, and Chief was so loved here in St. Louis. And he kind of made a comment about they asked him about Craig Berube, and he said, I don't know, he's not my coach anymore. So the crowd was just booing Jordan Kyrou every time he touched the puck. We're not used to seeing players get booed in St. Louis. That just doesn't happen. It's not Philly, Colby. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we just we're not used to seeing that. So that really hurt him, I think, internally. And we did an interview after the game, and he really got emotional, and then he was able to get it together. And the next game he had a shutout. So it's the trade rumors are going to happen. I mean, listen, I think these guys have all been through that. A lot of the guys who are rumored to be traded, they've got some no trade protection, and they've used it in the past, and I don't see why they wouldn't use it again. I mean, Buchnevich is in the first year of a contract extension, like you said. I don't know how you go to a player on the first year of a contract extension and say, hey, we want to trade you. I mean, and expect the player to say yes. I mean, that's just pretty unusual to see. So, listen, but I would expect to make some changes. There may be some news about some players maybe coming out this morning, too. I know it's an optional skate, but we'll see what news we get today. But, in terms of their captain, Brayden Schenn and whatnot, I mean, I just don't know how to look at that. I mean, these aren't salary dumps. I mean, these take some time, I think, to put together some of these deals. If you were ever to move a guy like Jordan Kyrou, I mean, we're talking about a significant package for a guy who's had, 3 consecutive seasons scoring 30 goals or more. I mean, he's a true offensive talent, and he's made some strides in his game, the last couple of years. Last 2 years under Chief, he was a combined -50. Last year, he led the team in plus-minus and had his best year as an NHL player. And he, like a lot of different players, are struggling. This guy was a healthy scratch a few weeks ago, and he's played his best hockey of the year since coming back after being a healthy scratch. So, again, it's not just 1 or 2 guys that are struggling. It's everybody at once kind of just having a difficult time offensively. And it's really weird, guys, because if you're into the analytics, I mean, the defensive metrics point towards this team having success. They don't allow a lot of shots. They don't allow a lot of high danger chances. They don't allow a lot of, slot chances. All these different things that say, hey, this team should be good defensively, but then they're the worst in the league in terms of goals against. So they can't keep the puck out of the net. The good thing is they do have some young players here who are having some success right now, and, I think they're going to be good players. Dalibor Dvorsky scores his third goal the other night on a one-timer on the power play. And, he's a guy who can really shoot the puck. So he was a 10th overall pick a couple of years ago. They have him here right now. Jimmy Snuggerud's had a pretty decent rookie season, getting a lot of ice time and playing in all different situations. So you just saw the stats right there. So anyway, I don't know. So again, man, strange season. And every game, you're just waiting for this team to turn around and get it together, and we'll see if they can get a win. This is game 2 of a 5-game road trip, by the way, the longest road trip of the season they're on right now.
All right, last question I have for you before we let you go. I know you got a game to cover here tonight. Opening night of the Olympics. Who's starting in goal for Team Canada?
Well, I think Jordan Binnington's going to get that nod. I really do. I mean, just based on what he did in the Four Nations. And people have to remember, too, this is the Olympics. It's not the Four Nations where you're playing Canada or Sweden basically every night. I mean, there's going to be some bottom feeders there, too.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, of a lot of these other countries that are involved in the tournament. So I think they're going to allow him to get his footing. And it's not just because Doug Armstrong's the general manager. I mean, I know John Cooper pretty well, too. He's got a lot of connections here in St. Louis, having coached junior hockey here years ago. So I know the respect level he has for Jordan Binnington, and I think he's going to give him that opportunity. I mean, if the second option was like some stud, I mean, I'll do respect to Logan Thompson. I like Logan Thompson a lot, but I mean, if it was like a premier elite, like if Andre Vasilevsky was Canadian, or if Shesterkin was Canadian, I would understand why we'd be maybe thinking somebody else would start, but it's not like they've got a ton of options. And I would think Binnington, based on what he did, I think he'll get the first opportunity to be the guy.
All right.
Yeah, well, Andy, we really appreciate your time this morning. You coming to New York Monday?
I am looking forward to it. I've never been to MSG.
Really? What? How is that possible? You don't go on the road trips?
I don't know. Dude, we haven't traveled much since COVID to begin with. And then we've been doing a lot of our pre and post game shows the last couple of years in studio out of St. Louis. There's been national games with the Blues and the Rangers in the past too, where we haven't done the games. It's just kind of crazy. It's the only building, that in Winnipeg, that I haven't been to.
Wow.
So, and I guess where the Islanders play, where we're going Saturday, that's a new building.
Yeah, UBS.
Right? I don't even think I've been there.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to your restaurant recommendations, where I should be in New York City. I've been to New York. Listen, I've been to New York several times, but it's like the draft was in New York several years ago. I went to that, but the draft was in New Jersey. But we stayed in Times Square, which was like an experience. I don't want to go back there.
That sounds like the worst.
Don't send me back there, Johnny. That's all I see in New York. Tell me there's more to New York.
Colby's actually my plug for reservations, so you might have to go to him if you want the good restaurants in New York. I don't have any pull. Colby's got all the pull around here, but I look forward to seeing you on Monday at MSG. That'll be a big game for both teams, honestly. But safe travels, and thanks again so much for doing this morning.
Yeah, keep up the great work, guys. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, Andy. Be good. Awesome guy. We got a lot of things to get to. Good to catch up on the Blues. I mean, Andy just hinted, right? Like there's going to be some news coming out of St. Louis this morning with an optional skate. Like I wonder what he was kind of getting at there. Any indications?
Well, I think the Texier thing, it sounds like he's going to, look to have his contract terminated. He's owed $2.1 million. He's not really playing. That obviously gives them a little flexibility with some newfound money. I don't know exactly what their cap situation is, but
I can look it up.
Again, it's always good to get a little bit of flexibility. I actually would say this, and this will be the last kind of word on it. I don't actually think Binnington is going to be the guy. I really don't. Like his.
It's going to be Thompson.
His performance has just been so bad, and I think Thompson just continues to stack up really good performances. And so I don't foresee that happening. I really don't. I mean, I know he has the pulse for sure. But yeah, Johnny, I have a feeling we might see Logan Thompson in the first big game for Team Canada.
In the first big game, so not the first game itself.
Well, the other name that Dila Presley just put in was Wedgwood. I think so. My understanding is that Wedgwood is also part of the testing. I know Elliot Friedman just put out that note about Matthew Schaefer, how he's been added to drug testing protocol. I did find out yesterday that has not happened for Jonathan Quick. I had that confirmed. So as of right now, there's almost no chance Jonathan Quick will be going to the Olympics. He's not in the testing protocol, although he should be, but he is not right now. So that'll be a story, Johnny. And then it seems like there's probably more stories around the Canadian Olympic team than the American Olympic team, which is so interesting because Canada just won the Four Nations. You'd think they would be, like, how are you going to leave Tom Wilson off that team? How are you going to leave Celebrini off that team? You know what? I'm getting closer and closer to how are you going to leave Connor Bedard off that team? And I think, again, the one thing you've got to continue to remind yourself is think about the biggest game and think of how tight checking it was. And then you have to think in a game like that, do you want 3 young guys? Remember Team Canada, they left Sidney Crosby off his first Olympic team. That was a long time ago. 20 years ago, he was left off that team. And they had a little bit of a more difficult time scoring. But I don't know. Like, will they bring all 3? Will it be one of the 3? It really just depends kind of, I think, on some of the other guys and what roles they really think. I don't think Team Canada has a goal scoring problem. So, I don't think you're sitting there. But in the same breath, where does Connor Bedard and Connor and Macklin sit at the top of the league standings, right? Yeah. They're playing very pressureless situations, though, in their rebuilds. I know both team is succeeding this year, but definitely not the same playing for the San Jose Sharks that is for Team Canada. I mean, I know I'm stating the obvious. So again, we will see how that situation evolves. If you had to bet right now, okay?
Yeah, I feel like we do this every day.
Of those 3 guys,
Schaefer,
Celebrini, Bedard, what are you betting? Who goes and
what am I betting? I think it's Macklin. Macklin's, Macklin's the easy choice, I think.
But you don't think
who's
the other
most likely
2?
to go? No, you ask me this every day. If I'm picking one who's most likely to go, it's
you don't have to pick one. I want to know,
we literally did this conversation yesterday.
All right, forget it. Move on then.
Well, no, I was looking up the schedule though as you were talking. Like, Canada's first game is not a walk in the park. They're playing Czechia. Czechia's got decent player like David Pastrnak. He'll be playing for Czechia. I don't think that's going to be just a game you look past, right? Where the U.S., I think their first game is against Latvia. No disrespect to Latvia. I think that's probably a bit of an easier matchup than Czechia. But also, Colby, just as far as Olympic plans go, I think our, first show will that first Thursday, there's Canada versus Czechia at 10:40 and the U.S. versus Latvia at 3:10. That'll be that Thursday show will be a good pregame show for the Olympics. That February 12th show. But obviously,
are you doing anything for the Olympics or no?
I think that's something that we're working on here. Obviously, our show will continue. We'll have to figure out how we're going to go about it, but looking to do some other stuff around the Olympics as well. Whether that's post game shows, reacting to Team USA games.
There could be games probably happening during our show. No, it wouldn't be like that.
I have the schedule right here.
6 hours.
6 hours ahead.
7-hour time change to Italy.
So the U.S. plays their first game at 3:10 on February 12th. Then their next game is at 3:10 again on February 14th. And then they play a back-to-back. So on the 15th as well, they play at 3:10 also. So all 3 games at 3:10, and then you get into the medal rounds and whatnot. So it's honestly very quick. It's all a 4-day, 5-day span.
Let me throw this out. I saw this on Elliot. I love when Elliot Friedman does 32 Thoughts written I'm a fan of
Okay.
it.
And 3:10 p.m. by the way, Jay Miller asking.
I forgot to bring this up though, as we're talking about Matthew Schaefer. So he posted what Matthew Schaefer's ice time has been against like top players in the NHL and versus like what Adam Pelech has been doing. Again, this is on home ice. Basically, Patrick Waugh and staff, they're really trying to protect him against other teams' top lines. You know, he played 4 minutes against Kaprizov, where Pelech played closer to 10. 1 minute 22 against Pasta. Pelech played over 8. Celebrini, Schaefer only played 2:52. Pelech played 14:03 against Celebrini. McDavid, Schaefer played 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Pelech 8 minutes and 43 seconds. So they're protecting him, which is smart. You can't protect a guy in an Olympic game against the U.S., against Sweden, there's no protecting you because every line is really good. So I just wanted to add that little anecdote in, Johnny, as we continue to move along here this morning.
Yes, good note. Obviously, another thing that we got to talk about is the freak injuries, and that's actually going to be presented by our sponsor Uber Eats, because we'd like to see maybe some NHL players ordering in on Uber Eats versus hurting themselves cooking. And Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins. If you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. And obviously the news yesterday, Colby, Iichi Luosterainen out with burns suffered at a barbecue. I just can't remember, like, first of all, injuries just feel so relevant right now, like in the NHL. Like every team is kind of going through it. Is there, I can't think of like one team off the top of my head that like almost isn't really dealing with any sort of injury. Like everyone seems like they got something going on. Maybe like the Dallas Stars. I feel like I can't think of someone who's hurt. Jamie Benn returned to the lineup the other night. So now they might be fully healthy, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm missing somebody there. I feel like every team though right now is kind of going through the ringer at a weird time of year too. Cause like, I feel like injuries more so happen, around like December, January, not 2 months in.
I think there's always this sort of point of the season where things start to kind of pile up, and
Harley's missing from Dallas. Shit, I forgot about Harley. Yeah, Harley,
which is obviously that's a big deal. And that's another name. Like when will he come back, right? Because he's another name where Team Canada is obviously circling around. They have no Matt Duchene as well. The chat is letting us know. I mean, listen, man, there's always it. I mean, I think what you're probably the most thrown off at is the fact that 2 guys got hurt in restaurants. Restaurant and
one was cooking themselves.
Week. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that's probably more of the throw off.
No, but like the Devils, Carolina, Charlie McAvoy now in Boston, Toronto missing guys. Like everyone, like it feels like. I think
Charlie. Unfortunately, Charlie suffers some sort of injury every season. Like I think we've seen him miss time. I think that's
I think before last year, I don't know if that's true. Last year, obviously, he has that long-term one from 4 Nations, but I can't remember him being significantly hurt really before that. I could look it up if you want.
I mean, let's look up and see how many games a year he plays. I mean, I just think guys who play. I mean, Johnny, since his career started, he played 63 games, 54 games, 67 games, 51 games, 78. That's the most he's ever played.
Yeah, but the 51 was a 56-game season. Don't make that.
Was a what?
The 51 games he played in 2021 was a 56-game season. That was a shortened COVID season.
Okay, so there you go. So he's had 2 years where he was healthy. All the other years, he's missed over 10 games. Some years he's missed closer to 20, 30 games. So I think it's safe to say Charlie McAvoy has missed at least a dozen games a year with some sort of injury. I mean, I don't think that.
I stand corrected.
I think that's a pretty fair. So it makes you wonder, like, is it the condensed schedule? There is a condensed schedule going on right now. There is the Olympics. And so, at the end of the day, this is obviously something they're going to continue to evaluate when they're looking at the fact that international hockey is going to be a big deal over the next number of years. And, the NHL season they're saying is no longer going to go into July. And I know I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much. And they're going to bring the cup back. I mean, I just think they need to start the season earlier. I know they don't want to compete against the NFL, but it's just the only thing you can do. You got to start the season earlier. You can't have these guys on this type of schedule.
Well, yeah, I mean, they start preseason and training camp in mid-September. Like, just shorten that and start the games September 22nd,
they
24th.
are. I mean, remember they just shortened.
It's 4 preseason games now. Yeah,
there's not going to be nearly as many preseason games, and so this is what they're looking to do. And in the chat, D White's asking thoughts on how the Oilers fix their defense. You
see that Darnell Nurse quote last night?
All the attention has been on the fact that Paul Coffey is no longer there, and they're saying he was kind of clashing and he had this monumental impact. I mean, look, I will say there's probably things when it comes to Paul Coffey that even if you don't agree with, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, you know what? I'm probably going to listen to what Paul Coffey has to say. Even if I don't agree, he probably knows better than me. And he's probably one of the guys that has the cachet to have that type of attitude. So is that affecting this team? Yeah, it's affecting this team. And Darnell Nurse said last night, it's tough to win games when you're letting in 5. Well, start on time. You know, when do the Edmonton Oilers ever have a good first period? And then they're constantly playing catch up, right? You're constantly looking to have to take chances in the neutral zone, chances at the offensive blue line because you're pressing for offense. And, you know, that's usually what leads to, all right, we're down 4-2. We almost get back in the game, but then we give up a chance because we're cheating. And now all of a sudden it's 5-2. I mean, that's kind of what Edmonton does. And it's just an impossible formula to win hockey games.
It's been a rough month of November for them. Just kind of looking at their November numbers, 4-5-1. They are allowing 4.20 goals against per game. Power play and PK are pretty good, though. The power play is at 31.8%, PK at 80%. But you can't be allowing 4.20 goals against a game, right? And they're only scoring 2.90. So it's not like they're outscoring their problems. You know, I think that's part of it too. But yeah, this Edmonton team right now, not much to be excited about, as we had Tyler on the other day to talk about.
No, definitely not.
Colby, I want to give a word from our sponsor, Bauer. So let's talk about the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage. This segment is a presentation of Bauer and the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage. This at-home sharpener gives you the ability to sharpen your skates with pro-level precision at the touch of a button, leveraged by decades of progressive innovation. This machine is designed to be as automated, precise, and convenient as possible. Easy to use, the Advantage features interactive touchscreen, user profiles, and has readily available how-to videos, troubleshooting tips to have you ready to sharpen like an expert, whether you're sharpening skates in your garage, at the rink, or even on the road. The Advantage at-home sharpener ensures that your skates are always game ready. So learn more about the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage at Bauer.com. And now that we are a week away, Colby, you still look at the Pacific Division. The Anaheim Ducks keep rolling. They had a win last night at home against Boston. We probably talked about it 3 weeks ago as it maybe being unsustainable, off to a hot start, but at some point they'll come back down to earth. They're starting to maybe prove people wrong here, and they might be legit. I mean, Leo Carlsson threw out the word, maybe we are a contender, a couple weeks ago, but now that we are 20 games in officially for Anaheim, they are number 1 in the Pacific. They're a team that hasn't really, I guess when we talk about injuries, I can't think of, and I guess Ryan Strome is out for a little bit. He came back recently, but are you buying stock on the Anaheim Ducks being legit this year? Like, do you think they actually have potential to maybe make some noise? Or is it just an early hot start?
No, listen, I don't think once they get in the playoffs, they're going to be a real serious contender, but I do have all the faith in the world that they'll continue to push and be a playoff team. I think, they'll have a valley at some point, Johnny. And remember, not only are they very talented, they're also getting really good goaltending. I mean, that's a huge piece here. Like, think of all the teams in the National Hockey League that have their goaltending in the front window and on the front page every morning. I'm sure the Toronto Maple Leafs would love a guy like Dostal. I'm sure the Edmonton Oilers would love a guy like Dostal. So I think when you have the goaltending piece and you have these defensemen that are just constantly, getting better. I mean, Jackson Lacombe is sort of on his way to being a legitimate star defenseman. I think Jackson Lacombe is the name that is going to find his way onto the Olympic team and really surprise people. I really do. I think that he just plays such a well-rounded game. When I watched Jackson Lacombe from between the benches when he was still in college, this to me was a guy that was just
big, strong.
he was just a super high-end offensive defenseman. And, I know his offensive production is, it's there. But when you watch him,
offensive
this is a
defenseman
guy who, yeah, I would say he's an offensive defenseman.
I was
There's no
just kidding.
doubt.
I was kidding. Yeah.
But when you watch his game and how he's rounded out his game, you're putting him on the ice in the last minute of a game, whether you're up or down a goal. And I think when you have a true number one defenseman like that, which is what he's developing into, I think that, you've really got something. And again, being an offensive defenseman and being, or being a let's say a 200-foot defenseman that contributes offensively, those are the guys that everybody wants. Like, those are the guys that you win with. Having a guy like, a Roman Josi, yeah, like it's great. Remember the year Josi was sniffing around, 80 points, and he was way up there and clicking at a crazy rate. Well, what did it do for his team? I think that's where you look at Cale Makar and you say, not only is this guy the best offensively, but he's the best defensively as well. So, I look at Lacombe and I'm like, all right, sure, he doesn't, he contributes, but he just, the way he moves the puck and the way he kind of manipulates a game with the puck on his stick is just so valuable. So, as he continues to grow, Zellweger continues to grow. You have the sandpaper with Gudas and Trouba. Like, this team is impressive to watch, and you've got a great coach behind the bench that I think the players will go through a wall for.
I forgot who we were talking about it with. Excuse me. Oh, who said this? D White. Your Ducks finishing ahead of the Oilers has a real chance. Yeah, that's the bet I made with Tyler. I think it was actually the Kings too. I think I had both teams ahead of the Oilers with Tyler. But I forgot who we asked this question to, Colby, with Quenneville. We were talking about the timing of Quenneville joining Chicago in comparison to the timing of Quenneville joining the Ducks, right? Like, there was that youth talent, like, on its way up, like in Kane, Taves. They had guys like, Marty Havlat, I think, was an older guy there at the time, but Seabrook, Keith, like, those guys were just entering the NHL when Quenneville took over the bench in Chicago, because it didn't take them long to knock on the door and then break through it. With Quenneville behind the bench. And now you're seeing it right now with Anaheim and how the young guys, again, like JVR, the praise he had for Leo Carlson yesterday, Cutter playing so well. You're kind of seeing that blend of young and old, which we've talked about. But it seems like the timing of Quenneville also is similar when he entered Chicago to coming into this Anaheim situation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if you're asking.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm asking a question. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I'm trying to remember who we asked that question to. I feel like it was someone who played on those Chicago teams. I feel like I'm blanking on who it was. Maybe I'll have to go back and find it. But we can move on. I know. Did you want to talk about Lowry?
Yeah, I think it's important that we hit on the Adam Lowry extension, and not so much just about Adam Lowry, but sort of more of the larger ecosystem, Johnny. And so when you look at the Lowry contract and you say, okay, $5 million a year, 5 years. Yeah, by the way, I didn't mean Bauer, I meant Prime. But when you look at that extension, what does that mean? Okay, the guy had 35 points basically the last 3 years. I think it was 36, 34, 35 his last 3 seasons, right? So, you're getting a guy who chips in for about 10 to 18 goals on a great year, but it's probably more like a 15-goal player who plays on your third line, who kills penalties. I've always been a fan of Lowry. I just think he's one of those real honest guys that
perfect third liner, right?
Is kind of exactly. He knows who he is. He doesn't cheat. There's just a lot. There's a lot of, I think he's the type of guy that I'm sure fans in Winnipeg just like really appreciate. And so now you kind of see like, all right, a 35-point player on the third line is now a $5 million a year player, right? And as we kind of learn how this market will be reset, we're sort of seeing the high end, Johnny. Now we're starting to see, I wouldn't call it the low end, because he's certainly not a fourth liner, although I know he's played there at times in his career, but he's your prototypical third line player who eats pucks and plays physical or whatever. So now he's a $5 million a year guy, right? And so, you start looking around at the free agent class and you start wondering, okay, like, what does that now mean? Does that mean a guy who's probably going to play second line center for you? Is he now an $8 million player? If we know 12 million.
Well, what did Shane just get? Shane just got 7.5, didn't he, for 4 years? Shane Pinto, like that's like a second line, third
he's
line.
A little bit younger. I think there's a little bit more upside with Shane Pinto. I think offensively, and I think people always want to pay a little bit more for offense. So I thought it was a good contract. I really did. Like I felt like, he got the right number for him and the right number for the team. I think it would have been weird to see him get $7 or $8 million. I really do. Obviously he wanted to stay in Winnipeg. So it's every contract now is going to be under the microscope because it's going to be new to see what players are getting versus what expectations are versus what they've done in the past.
Also, like kind of weird that I guess when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like that a captain was making 3.25, right? Like usually the captains are, and I'm not saying like every team is like this, but typically it's like, the best or one of your best players for the most part.
We've gotten away from it being the best leader. We have. It's usually now your best and highest paid players that are wearing your letters, not your leaders anymore. It's really gotten to that point.
Like, is there another maybe Anders Lee? I don't know what he makes off the top of my head. I'll look it up. But like, is Adam Lowry the lowest paid captain in the NHL? I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody else. Anders Lee makes $7.
No, Anders Lee, $7 million, and he's a UFA. Yeah. So, listen, I see Chef Richard loves it. He loves that contract. He's all about it. D. Ely wants us to talk about the Jackson Blake contract. Listen, that seems to be a big win. Not just for the team, I think for him too, right? Yeah. I mean, you see these guys that probably take a little bit lower money early in their career because they're gambles. They're gambles for the team, and they are a gamble for a player. And listen, I think it's a good problem when you outplay your contract. It really is. So.
But 8 years at 5.1 million. That's crazy. 8 years at 5.1. Think about that contract 5 years from now.
But you're guaranteeing yourself $35.5 million when in your 20s, and you're still going to have your late 20s and your mid 30s. Like he's going to get another 7-year contract, probably for I don't know, 10 million a year. I mean, he'll end up making $100 million if he stays on this pace. And like, again, to have that type of contract security and never have to think about it, I think some guys don't mind. They prefer that. They really do.
That's fair. Totally fair. So, and Randy let me know that Mikael Backlund is now the lowest paid, or will be the lowest paid captain in the NHL. He signed a 2-year, $3.25 million extension, but right now he's making $4.5 million. So he will be the lowest paid captain, I guess, when that next contract kicks in. But that's an interesting topic too. I didn't know that Backlund was making that money. Let's talk about our sponsor, Prime. This segment will be a presentation of Prime Monday Night Hockey. Stream Prime Monday Night Hockey exclusively on Prime Video and experience thrilling goals and dramatic plays from the NHL. Monday nights are hockey nights, so don't miss a moment of the action. This Monday, the Senators are out on the West Coast to take on the Kings. Puck drop at 9 p.m. Eastern. Check out the link in our description for the Prime Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video, or go to primevideo.com/NHL. And Colby, I guess like our last thing that we'll kind of get into today is just some of these weak teams, the Sabres and Flames, we talked about them yesterday. I obviously chirped the Flames. What do? They come out and score 6 goals. But the Blues, the Sabres, the Flames, teams that we usually talk about, not as great teams, but again, we're starting to see the change of guard in worst teams in the NHL, where it's been the Blackhawks and the Sharks for the past couple of years. Now it looks like they're almost out of that, and we're seeing new teams enter that basement of the NHL. I guess right now, if you had to pick the worst team between the three, the Sabres, the Flames, and the Blues, which one do you say is the worst?
Well, I unfortunately, I have to go with the Blues, and because of what they did last year. I think the expectation was those other two teams were going to be bottom dwellers this year. So I don't think we're surprised. I think the Flames are going to have to do a major sell-off. I think we know that. I think the Sabres are just become a team that like are so irrelevant that like we're not even going to go there. But I think the Blues had real, expectations. New coach, obviously, into his first full season, full training camp. And to look this lifeless and to have players underperforming at this level after some of the moves that they've made, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Blues.
I still think it's Calgary. For me, I'm picking the Flames just because, again, like I think Jonathan Huberdeau is like the craziest. What word do I want to use? Like not downfall, but to go from like a guy who looked like an MVP candidate, 115 points, and then kind of like a mediocre, average player in Calgary. I think that's fair to say. I know he had a better year last year, but it's crazy the night and day difference from the guy he was in Florida to what he's been in Calgary. Like to me, that's insane how a player can go from, one of the best to, yeah, it's true.
If there was ever you ever see like, I feel like you see it the most on TV in the States, but like you see those advertisements for like visiting Florida or visiting California, like visit California.com,
Fall from Grace is a good one.
Florida.com. Like if there was ever an advertisement for visit Florida.com, they should use Jonathan Huberdeau as the face for that, because vitamin D is a powerful thing. Guy gets out of the sun and he gets out of the great state of Florida, and all of a sudden, midnight strikes and he turns into a pumpkin. So listen, I don't envy the job that Craig Conroy has to do out in Calgary. No. I really don't. I mean, it is interesting. And I'll say this, I saw the segment online the other day of Huska in talking about how he used Chat GPT to sort of like break down. And I got to tell you, like, I'm not sure how I'd feel sitting in that locker room having our coach go down that tangent. That's probably a one of those where the minute that meeting ended, the players were all whispering in each other's ears about how absurd that was, in my opinion. Could be wrong, but in my opinion. And sorry, General Soreness, there have been no Oliver sightings this morning. He must be upstairs with my wife and my kids. And I will tell you this, my daughter, who is now in her toddler bed, was up at 4:00 this morning. We told her when the light in her room goes from red to green, she's allowed to come in our room. Well, she very much ignored that this morning and came into my room at 4:15 and was rearing ready to go and just like annoyed us until 6:30 in the morning when we said, okay, we'll get out of bed. So no Oliver sighting. He's probably upstairs in my bed sleeping right now because he was pissed too. So that's where he is this morning. So Johnny, it's definitely been an action-packed week. I would say give us a like on this episode, especially as we start to wrap up our week. Make sure you leave comments on the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube page. The sheet will be back today. I know they had a day off yesterday. I didn't realize that during our show. I think Jeff had some travel bumps in the road, so they weren't able to get their show in yesterday. Make sure you do automatic downloads and get your podcast downloads going on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those are huge for us. The other thing that I've never asked you guys to do, which would really, really help us as well, go to the podcast and give us a rating and a review. And look, I know we all have this relationship where we yell and scream at each other and we call each other idiots all the time. But if you're going to leave us a review, please, leave us a serious review. Even if it's negative, that's fine. But be straight with your review. And, I see your comment here, Edu, about my mic, and I'm not sure, what the issue is here, but Johnny and I have the exact same mic. So I don't really know what to tell you there. Maybe I got to turn.
I thought mine was too loud. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I got to get the volume up a little bit on mine, which I can try to do, but we do have the exact same mic. So we're not sure what next week will look like yet. We haven't figured out who will be our Cuppa College person. Maybe I'll finally let Johnny go to one of his super fans that he wants to bring on.
Thanksgiving week too. Are we going to do a show Thursday? We got to talk about that, I
No,
guess,
we
on
definitely won't do
Thanksgiving
a
Day.
show there won't be a
Okay.
show on Thanksgiving, but we'll let you guys know all about that stuff on Monday. But like I was saying, please go to our podcast, leave us a review, leave us a rating, give us real feedback on there because we really do take it. That's why I always ask you guys to comment on the stream because we read that stuff and we put stock into it. So again, it was a great week. We're thankful to all of our sponsors. We're thankful to a new sponsor that we have joining us called JP Wisers. And hockey is back, and so are the rivalries. A new NHL season means the group chats heat up, and every win feels better when you're watching with your buddies. No matter how the team looks this year, getting together for game night makes the victories sweeter and the rivalries richer, and even the losses, for you Calgary Flames fans, easier to take. As the official whiskey of the NHL, JP Wisers is celebrating the rituals, the midweek matchups, the moments that brings friends together from October to June. When the crew gets together for puck drop, that's a win. And this season, fans can look forward to limited edition releases and more. Please visit jpwisers.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and stay updated. Must be legal drinking age, and please enjoy responsibly. And I can tell you guys, all of these new sponsors that we have been sending us stuff to try. The whiskey really is legit. I had never had it before, but it is legit. So get some now. Continue to support our sponsors, especially Out West. You guys know Out West is that's our ride or die partner. Make sure you guys are getting on Out West website. I bet you they'll have a Black Friday sale coming up this week. So if you guys support our sponsors, they support our show. That keeps us on the air. So great week. We love you all. Enjoy the long weekend. We will talk to you guys Monday about what our schedule will look like next week. And Johnny is going to do Bet365 and say goodbye to you all.
You almost forgot. Bet365, our bet of the night. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. Remember, you must be 19 or older. And we're going to ride the hot hand. The Chicago Blackhawks, they've won 5 out of their last 6 games. They're fun to watch. They're home tonight against the Seattle Kraken. And I think the betting lines are still disrespecting them a bit. Getting the Blackhawks tonight on home ice at minus 115, pretty damn good odds. So we'll take Connor Bedard as I think it was Andre Burakovsky who said in the locker room, mimicking Bedard in one of his press conferences, like, I'm Connor Bedard. I'm the hottest player in the NHL right now. La, da, da. Like, that's what he said in a post-game presser, which is funny. So we'll go Blackhawks tonight. I'll be on the call for UMass Providence on Saturday night, so I get to see Roger McQueen in person for the first time. Excited to watch him. Colby, you guys got games this weekend?
We do have games we're in Elmira this weekend. So up to, almost to Canada for me. Couple of games in Elmira. And by the way, Tornsy27 saying we're all Johnny super fans when Colby is being a casual jerk. So that's totally fair, and I don't blame you for that. I was actually referencing the fact that Johnny and I argue every week over our Cup of College segment because I like bringing on head coaches. I think head coaches, you have your best chance at getting a guy that's actually going to say something. And so that's why I like bringing on college coaches, head coaches, and Johnny he wants to bring players on. And we've had college players on before, Johnny. They mostly suck. Remember when I
thought Cole Eiserman was amazing.
Cole Eiserman is the one that hasn't sucked.
Yeah, he was amazing.
We had him live, remember? We were live in the room with him.
Yeah.
Right? But even when we had Cole Hudson, and
to be fair,
Cole,
they weren't college players at the time. That was before college.
Rutger McGroarty. I love Rutger, but he was a dud when he came on.
It was the morning after Michigan won the football national championship.
I wish he would have been drunker and said more. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So again, I think all of our love-hate relationship on this show, I think it's why this show is so enjoyable for me to do every morning.
Yeah.
I can tell you guys, as somebody who's done traditional TV for my media career, this is so much more fun. And we say it all the time in the summer. Our show sucks in the summer because we do not have the chat to fight with and to hear from. So, take it for what it's worth. But we love you guys, and leave those reviews on Apple Podcasts. Leave those ratings on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, like the episode. We'll see you all Monday morning. Have a good one, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the Sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.